Welcome, Transformer fans. My name is Composite Enerjoe, and as of the time of this recording, Happy Easter. And Happy Easter to those who celebrate it and to those who don't. And what better way to celebrate a day about rebirth than to talk about a character that has committed a lot of death. And is responsible for the deaths of some loved characters and not so loved. And of course, I'm talking about Sentinel Prime. More specifically, this is the Transformers Dark of the Moon Voyager class Sentinel Prime. And here he is in his alt mode, which is a fairly accurate representation of a Rosenbauer Panther 6x6 airport fire truck. A bit of a mouthful, which was his alt mode in the film. And I guess on a little bit of a side note, I do believe that they chose... I personally feel that the choice to make Sentinel Prime a fire truck is a bit of a reference to Optimus Prime's fire truck mode way back in 2001 during the first Robots in Disguise TV series. That might just be me, but that's what I feel like is the whole purpose behind having him be a fire truck. And yeah, so here he is in his alt mode, and it rolls around on all 6 wheels quite well. For some features, these little guardrails you can lift up, like so, to give it a more, I don't know what for, but you'd be able to see the side of the vehicle quite well. And a nice little detail is that I liked that his Autobot symbol on both sides is scratched off. Because, I guess spoilers for the movie, he betrays the Autobots in the film and kills Ironhide in the film, and in the novelization he also kills Mudflap and Skids, using what's referred to as his rust cannon. So yeah. And another small feature, well, the side mirrors here are rubbery, that's why they look kind of warped. But another little feature here is that you can flip out this little nozzle. It's like a little fire hose. And speaking of fire hoses, this big thing on top is his MechTech weapon, because he's a Dark of the Moon figure. They all have MechTech weapons. And this one in particular is actually pretty neat. This is supposed to be, I think, his fire hose, which you can lift up like so, and you can rotate it 360, as well as there is a hinge here and hinge there for this kind of action. And it's pretty cool. And yeah, if you look at the detail, it's supposed to be, I'm guessing, a big fire hose, but I think it's referred to as a power lift. And also, when you push down this button, it then turns into this weapon. And also, like all of the Voyager class ones, if you twist it here, it then stays in this alternate mode. There you have it. It's a big cannon. In the instructions, I think it's referred to as a fusion cannon, but I'd like to think of this as his rust cannon, because, you know, the fusion cannon is Megatron's thing. So yeah, just saying. And this can also be removed if you squeeze this here. Boom, you now remove his MechTech weapon. Let's switch it back. There we go, switch it back. And put it off to the side, so that's ready for his robot mode. Now you can transform him with the MechTech weapon on. It doesn't affect anything, because he is a bit of a shell former, but I like to take it off so that he can hold it while in robot mode, which, let's get on with transformation. So yeah, let's get on with transformation. First things first, you have to come here, there we go, and unpeg these side flaps. Then next up, you go down here, and just sort of wiggle this out, and you unpeg what eventually becomes his legs. And let's just finish off the legs. You then come in here, get your nail in, flip this up, flip that up, fold down, spin, and if you can, you then put out these pieces which serve as his heels, which he might need since he is a bit top and back heavy. For this part, you can then fold these back some more, fold these down, and then these will peg into here. Fold down, peg into here, And then, what was this? Oh yeah, you unpeg that. And you peg his hands. And then you pull this out a little bit for clearance. And then you lift this up, lift these up. And then you twist this forward, like so. It goes from this to this. And then this will peg into there, into here. And then you just rotate and adjust his arms. And then for this part, you take these pieces, pull them back and twist them down, like so. A little bit back and down. And then you move these back for clearance. You twist this and then straighten it, then push it straight up to reveal his head, which is a little bit off. I feel it's more rounder than it should be, but it's still a pretty good representation. Now for this part, fold this down, all the way down, like so, and then this will peg into here. It's a pretty simple transformation. Then this you adjust, this you can flip up if you want. And that's it. That is, oops, he's a little top heavy. And that is Sentinel Prime's transformation. Fairly simple. Like I said, it's basically just a shell. First negative I can say is that these gaps here are annoying. And it would have been nicer had they done something else with this. But those aside, it's a pretty decent figure. I mean, it looks just like Sentinel Prime, which is very nice. The head sculpt, like I said, is not bad. It's got nice bits of detail, but it does look a bit too round for what it should be. Well, as you can tell, he has light piping. He has a clear light piping, which is something I miss, which I wish more modern figures kept. I always thought that was a really cool look. Really neat idea. For articulations, we have the head is on a swivel. The arms can go 360 in and out. Swivel at the shoulder, I guess. Bend at the elbow, and that's it. Legs can go very far. You can do one heck of a kick. Then they are on ratchets, so they kind of have like set motions. They can go forward that far. If it wasn't for the backpack, you'd probably go even further back. So you'd have this weird thing here. There's a rotation at the knee, as well as a bend. And if you really want to, he does technically have a sort of bend here at the foot, but that's more for transformation. So yeah, he has quite a bit of articulation. But his backpack does make him a bit top heavy, so you do have to keep that in mind when messing around with him. And then we get to his weapon, which is simply you just sort of put it in any hand here. And there he has his weapon. So let's adjust it to his rust cannon. And there we go. And this can sort of move around because of the hinges. So there we have him with his rust cannon, like so. Which funny enough evens out, even though it's too big. Oh, there we go. He can't hold it one-handed. So let's turn it back for turn it back for convenience sakes. And if you can also just store it in the back in the same way that it was, like so. Just peg it in, and he just has that on his back. However, this will then make him even more top heavy, so you really need to adjust it for that. So just to avoid that, I'm just gonna have him hold it, and there we go. Yeah, that's a Sentinel Prime. Pretty decent figure. Let's get on with some size comparisons. First up, the classics. Here we have Cliff Jumper and Ratchet. So he is a Voyager. So yeah, he's as expected taller than both of them. A Legion and a Standard-ish Deluxe. And now let's get into some other size comparisons, which is one of the key, I guess one of the positives of getting this Voyager Sentinel Prime as opposed to the Leader class. Just adjust his cape, because yeah, this back part is supposed to serve as his cape that he has in the film. So yeah, let's have his fellow line mate. Is it Wave Mate? Yeah, let's just say Wave Mate. His fellow toy line mate. Dark of the Moon Voyager Megatron, and a more recent one, the Studio Series movie 1 Optimus Prime, who is also being reused for a Studio Series leader Optimus from Dark of the Moon. Same figure, but the chest I think is a little different. So yeah, there they are. And as you can see, they scale very nicely together. And the same thing I said in his review is that the biggest reason to get these Voyagers is to have them scale with this Optimus, who's now packing dualies, I might add. But yeah, they look really nice together. This is what makes these this Voyager and this Voyager as well worth it, is that you can have them together and they scale very nicely. So let me take these away. And now for some final thoughts here. Overall, it's a pretty solid figure, but a 9 out of 10. How do I put this? Out of all the aspects that this figure does, its Dark of the Moon leader class figure is significantly better. Except that one has his sword and shield instead of his rust cannon, which this one has his cannon. And this figure scales better with that one. So this one honestly has two things over the other one, which it has its cannon, but it doesn't have his sword and shield, and it scales a whole lot better with the other figures instead of that leader class. So yeah, I'm just saying it right now. The leader class is significantly better, but that doesn't mean that this figure doesn't have its uses. It's still a pretty solid figure. The transformation is simple. The figure is articulated, and detail-wise, it's pretty detailed. And the MechTech weapon's also pretty cool. But yeah, overall, it's a nice, solid figure. That if you, and it also serves as a good alternative if you're as a good representation. Not representation. What's the word I'm looking for? It serves as a decent alternative if you're just missing a Sentinel Prime from your collection, or just really want a Sentinel Prime. This figure is worth getting as a cheaper alternative to the leader class. And yeah, that's it. Oh, I guess I think I had one more little fun fact I wanted to talk about him. That I already mentioned that in the novelization he kills Mudflap and Skids. And in the movie, we see him directly kill Ironhide, which is very tragic. And I mentioned what I think his alt mode represents. Oh, and he's voiced by Leonard Nimoy, who's more famous as Mr. Spock from Star Trek, but who also voiced Galvatron in the original 1986 movie. So that's a very neat fact. That's a very cool detail that they added, that they got Leonard Nimoy to voice a character who's at first is good, but then eventually becomes evil, who used to voice an evil Transformer back in the day. So yeah, that I guess was the last fun fact. So yeah, like I said, overall, it's a solid figure, recommended, especially if you're for either scale purposes or as a cheaper alternative if you just really need a Sentinel Prime. So yeah, solid figure. So yeah, this has been my review of the Transformers, Dark of the Moon, Voyager class Sentinel Prime. This is Composite Enerjoe signing off, and one more time, Happy Easter. Peace out.